The galaxy laughed when humans joined the stars. 5 alien empires, old, proud, undefeated, watched Earth's first fleet and saw nothing but toys. But they were wrong. They mistook humility for weakness and patience for fear. For when humanity finally revealed what it had built in the dark, those who once laughed would kneel before the fire of a newborn god. It began, as most catastrophes do, with arrogance. The Galactic Dominion's War Council gathered in the orbiting fortress of Karth Vael, a city the size of a small moon. There, beneath banners of 1,000 conquered worlds, 5 commanders met to decide the fate of one insignificant species, humanity. They sat at a circular table of obsidian alloy. The air shimmered faintly with the weight of their presence, each of them a legend in their own right. At the head of the table was High Marshal Torvak of the Zarn Dominion, his armor carved from the exoskeletons of extinct predators. His voice was a low growl that echoed through the chamber. Reports indicate that the Terrans have begun constructing a fleet. Primitive vessels, chemical thrusters, unrefined plasma, an insult to the void. Across from him, Admiral Karen of the Vorin hierarchy chuckled, his 4 silver eyes gleaming. A fleet? Against us? I've seen their ships. They look like mining haulers with guns bolted on. Let them come. To his right, Matriarch Serath of the Valori Combine, sleek and radiant, smirked. The humans are ambitious, I'll give them that. But they lack culture, discipline, unity. They are a squabbling hive of tribes pretending to be a civilization. The others murmured in agreement. Only one remained silent. Commander Ulrek of the Thraxian Swarm, whose species rarely spoke before killing. His segmented face twitched slightly, mandibles flexing. Underestimation breeds extinction, he said quietly. The others laughed. Not from them, Torvak rumbled. The humans are barely space-worthy. We could erase their solar system before breakfast. Far away, on a small blue planet circling an ordinary star. Someone else was laughing too, but for a different reason. In the underground command chamber of Fort Kepler, deep beneath the surface of Luna, Admiral Evelyn Cross stood before a projection of the solar defense grid. Around her, technicians and officers moved with practiced precision, their faces illuminated by soft blue light. "Status?" she asked. "Orbital stations Alpha through Delta online," replied her aide, Lieutenant Harris. "Construction of the Aegis-class battle platforms continues ahead of schedule." "The ARC project is at 90%, Cross nodded. "And the fleet?" "The outer colonies report readiness. The Atlas, Prometheus, and Vigilant Dawn are awaiting final reactor synchronization." At that, Cross smiled faintly. "Good, the galaxy's been watching us. Let's give them a show worth remembering." The first encounter came 3 months later. A Zarn patrol vessel, a sleek, black predator of steel, entered Sol space under the pretense of surveying navigation routes. It didn't announce itself. It didn't ask permission. The humans saw it coming anyway. As it crossed Neptune's orbit, a signal pierced the void. Tight band, encrypted, unmistakably human. "Unidentified vessel, this is the Terran Defense Network. You have entered restricted space. Identify or be escorted out," the Zarn captain sneered. "Escorted by what? Rocks and drones?" Then his sensors lit up. 5 Terran ships emerged from the shadow of Triton's ice, sleek, gray, angular. Not massive, not ornate, just precise. Efficient. The Zarn crew laughed. Mining barges. But the laughter died when the lead Terran ship powered up. The energy readings spiked, then flattened into silence. "Impossible," the Zarn technician whispered. "Their reactor just disappeared from sensors." Seconds later, the ship vanished entirely. "No light, no drive signature, nothing. Cloaked?" the captain barked. "Unknown." Then the ship reappeared directly in front of them, less than 2 kilometers away. Before the Zarn could react, a single rail slug tore through their command deck, followed by silence. The Terran vessel transmitted one message to the empty wreck. "You were warned." When word reached the Galactic Dominion, the Council was amused. "They got lucky," said Karen, waving a clawed hand. "One patrol lost to an ambush. The humans are opportunists, nothing more," Torvak growled. "Then we'll make an example." The War Council authorized Operation Cinderfall, a demonstration strike, 1 fleet, 5 flagships, 100 warships from 5 empires. Their orders: enter Sol space, destroy any resistance, broadcast the annihilation live across the galactic network. It was to be a warning, a reminder of who ruled the stars. The fleet gathered beyond Pluto, engines blazing against the black. In the lead ship, the Dominion dreadnought Harbinger of Chains, Torvak watched the human system grow larger on the holo display. "They have no idea," he said, flexing his claws. "By the time their sun rises again, their species will be a myth." "Glorious," hissed Sarath. "I'll take their moon as a pleasure colony." Ulrich said nothing. He simply watched, his compound eyes narrowing. "I told you once," he murmured. Underestimation breeds extinction. Earth saw them coming days before they entered visual range. Humanity didn't panic. It didn't flee. It prepared. Admiral Cross stood aboard the orbital fortress Vigilant Dawn, Earth's largest structure in space, an artificial city ringed with gun platforms and defense arrays. "Enemy fleet entering Neptune perimeter," her sensor chief reported. "Activate Aegis grid," Cross ordered. Across the system, the defense satellites came online, thousands of them, each a shard of light in the darkness, power readings stabilizing, grid synchronized. Then let's see if our guests appreciate human hospitality. When the alien fleet crossed into firing range, the first thing they noticed was the silence. "No transmissions, no movement, just empty space. Where are their ships?" hissed Karen. Then the stars lit up. The Aegis grid fired. From the orbit of Neptune to the edge of Jupiter, space erupted in coordinated layered fire, ion bursts, magneto-rail slugs, and plasma streams. Every weapon fired with mathematical precision, guided by an AI network known simply as Athena. The alien fleet staggered. Shields collapsed under overlapping impacts. One Vorin cruiser split apart, melting into fragments. "Impossible!" shouted Sarath. "They predicted our formations." Ulrich spoke quietly. "They didn't predict. They learned. For every alien ship destroyed, another took its place. The battle raged for hours. Humanity's defenses held, but just barely. Finally, the Harbinger of Chains pushed through the firestorm. Torvak's face was illuminated by flame. "Enough!" he roared. "Bring me their world!" The alien fleet surged forward, ignoring losses. Earth's moon rose in their viewports like a pale sentinel. On Luna Base, alarms screamed. Cross looked to her crew. "They're breaking through. Orders, Admiral?" She stared at the tactical map, her mind racing. The Vigilant Dawn's outer guns were overheating. The Aegis satellites were running out of ammunition. There was one option left. "Begin ARC protocol." Her staff froze. "Admiral, that's now." The transmission echoed through every human ship. Across the system, deep vaults opened, revealing what humanity had been building in secret for decades. From the dark side of the moon, from Titan's shadow, from the depths of the asteroid belt, colossal shapes rose. They weren't ships in any conventional sense. They were cities, forged in orbit, each over 50 kilometers long. Massive armor plating, reactor cores the size of mountains. And at their center, pulsing with golden light, was a symbol no alien had ever seen before. A single blue circle. Earth, the human fleet, the arc line, awoke. Every sensor in the alien fleet went haywire. "What? What are those?" Sarath gasped. "Planetary dreadnoughts," Ulrich said softly. "You wanted to see what humanity had built? You're about to." The lead arc, Atlas, spoke first. "This is Admiral Evelyn Cross of the United Terran Fleet. You have violated Sol sovereignty and attacked without provocation. By Article 1 of the Earth Charter, you are hereby engaged." Then the arc fired, a single beam. White hot, focused. It didn't explode, it simply erased. The Dominion battleship before it ceased to exist. From Karth Vale to the outer colonies, the galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity's true power was revealed. 5 alien commanders, who had come to boast of their invincibility, now stared into the face of extinction. And for the first time in 1,000 years, they understood fear. The galaxy had never seen light like that. When the Atlas fired, even distant colonies on Mars saw the beam ripple through the void. For a moment, space itself seemed to scream. The light traveled not just through vacuum, but through memory, through the long humiliation of a young race finally standing tall. Inside the shattered remains of the alien vanguard, plasma bled from ruptured hulls like liquid sunlight. The surviving ships fell back in chaotic retreat, shields sputtering, their commanders shouting orders that made no sense. Torvak's dreadnought shook violently. "Shields at 60%. Return fire!" But their weapons found nothing solid to hit. The Ark ships didn't move like anything built by flesh and logic. They phased through gravity wells, shifted their trajectories in impossible curves. It was as if each one carried the full computational power of an entire planet. "Targeting systems jammed!" one of his officers screamed. "Their signal interference. It's rewriting our sensor code in real time." Torvak slammed a clawed fist into the armrest. "Fire blind! Burn them all!" Dozens of alien warships unleashed their combined fury. Beams, missiles, kinetic storms, everything they had. The space between Mars and Earth turned into a swirling ocean of energy. But when the light faded, the Atlas and its sister arcs still advanced. Their hulls glowed faintly from absorbed radiation, then cooled in silence. Admiral Cross stood calmly at her command dais, eyes fixed forward. "Maintain advance." "Formation Omega," Lieutenant Harris whispered, awe in his voice. "We're walking through their combined fleet fire." Cross didn't answer. She was listening to the silence between the explosions, the rhythm of battle that only the experienced could hear. Humanity wasn't just fighting. It was teaching. Far beyond the solar system, in a council chamber carved from obsidian glass, the Galactic Dominion watched the battle through live holofeeds. Billions of alien citizens were tuned in. Commentators screamed, priests prayed, and analysts rewound the footage again and again trying to understand. How could a species that hadn't even joined the galactic economy have this? Matriarch Serath's voice shook as she shouted across the table. "They possess forbidden technology. No species under 5,000 years of expansion could have built those ships." Admiral Karen hissed, his silver eyes narrowing. "Then they stole it." "Someone gave it to them." Ulrich said nothing. He simply watched the holographic replay of the human dreadnought firing again, his mandibles twitching in deep thought. "Stolen?" he murmured. No, this was earned. Look at their construction patterns, the precision, the efficiency. Every curve, every vent, it's human, Torvak snarled from the feed. "I will end this insolence myself." But even as he spoke, his ship trembled again. Warning lights flashed across his bridge. Multiple warp signatures. Rear flank. What? Out of the dark behind the alien fleet came new contacts. Smaller Terran vessels, sleek and darting like sharks. They weren't part of the Ark line. These were the human strike fleets, dozens of them. Frigates, destroyers, corvettes, each one carrying names that echoed history. Yorktown, Agincourt, Thermopylae, Yamato, Lahore. Old Earth names. Old Earth pride, the alien fleet was surrounded. "Impossible!" Karen screamed. "We blocked every approach vector." "Humans don't use our vectors," Ulrich said grimly. "They use theirs. On the Vigilant Dawn," Admiral Cross watched as the AI Athena drew complex movement patterns across the holotable, threads of light weaving through chaos. Fleet Group Delta, push to flank. Alpha, burn drive at 20% and anchor around the arc line. We're boxing them. "Acknowledged," came the replies. The human ships moved like one organism, silent and terrifying. They used gravity assists off planetary bodies, slingshot maneuvers, and micro-warp jumps so precise even Dominion navigators couldn't follow them. Each movement was designed to corral, not destroy. "How to teach," Admiral Harris said quietly. "Why aren't we finishing them off?" Cross turned to him. "Because they're watching, Lieutenant. Every empire, every world. And I want them to understand what happens when you corner humanity. We don't break. We adapt." The battle raged for 16 hours. When it finally ended, 3 alien flagships were destroyed, 2 crippled. Hundreds of Dominion vessels drifted silent, power cores dead. The harbinger of chains limped out of orbit, half its hull molten. Torvak's pride was gone, replaced by something unfamiliar, fear. He ordered full retreat. The remaining alien ships folded space and vanished beyond Pluto's orbit, fleeing faster than their dignity could follow. Silence returned to Sol. Humanity had won, but Admiral Cross didn't smile. She stood before the viewport of the Atlas, watching debris fields drift. "Send recovery drones," she ordered, "and humanitarian beacons." "Humanitarian, Admiral?" Harris asked, confused. "Even enemies deserve a chance to live," she said softly. "We're human, Lieutenant. Never forget that." The next week changed the galaxy. Footage of the battle spread faster than light. Every broadcast, every comnet replayed the moment humanity's warships cut through the 5 great empires like wind through dust. On colony worlds from the Orion Rim to the Scorched Belt, alien citizens whispered new words with awe and fear. Terrans. The humans. The sleepers who woke. At the Dominion capital, riots broke out. Millions demanded answers. The 5 commanders were summoned before the Council of Sovereigns, their reputations in tatters. Torvak stood in chains of gravimetal, his armor stripped. Serath hissed, humiliated. Karen refused to speak, while Ulrich simply stared at the floor. A council elder, a being older than most stars, spoke coldly. "You brought shame to the Dominion. You swore humanity was beneath us. Now the entire galaxy questions our supremacy," Torvak roared. "They got lucky. One engagement," the elder interrupted. "Enough. You will return to Sol and erase them. Every world, every station. If you fail, your species will pay the price. 5 commanders. One final chance." They accepted. Back on Earth, humanity rebuilt. The orbital docks glowed with industry. Damaged frigates were repaired, new designs commissioned. For the first time, the nations of Earth, once divided by centuries, of rivalry, spoke with one voice. Admiral Cross stood at the memorial wall aboard Vigilant Dawn. Thousands of names were etched into the metal. The fallen of Neptune, the engineers who'd never returned from Titan, the children who'd grown up beneath war sirens. President Adebayo's voice came through the comlink. "The United Terran Council has authorized the Phoenix Initiative. You are to lead humanity's first interstellar expeditionary fleet." Cross inhaled deeply. "Understood. Destination? The Council of 5. We take the fight to them." The Atlas's engines ignited, casting light across the lunar surface. Hundreds of ships followed, a constellation of human steel. It was time to remind the galaxy that mercy was a choice, and humanity had made it once already. In the Dominion's war halls, the 5 commanders prepared their vengeance. They brought new ships, titanic juggernauts equipped with weapon cores capable of splitting moons. Each empire contributed its most terrible creation. Torvak commanded the World Burner, an engine of annihilation fueled by a collapsing star. Karen brought the Echo Reaver, designed to distort time. Serath's Celestial Thorn carried psychic armaments that could tear thoughts apart. Ulrich's Swarm Mother hid 1 billion autonomous drones. And finally, the Council's secret edition, the Oblivion Lance, a weapon so ancient none remembered who had built it. 5 titans of destruction. 5 oaths of vengeance, their target, Sol. But when they arrived, Sol was gone. Where Earth had been, only empty coordinates remained. No signal, no heat signature, no planet. The system was silent. "Impossible!" Karen hissed. "A planetary disappearance of this scale," Ulrich tapped his console, scanning deeper. "No, not gone. Moved." "Moved?" Serath stammered. "Yes." Before they could process, their long-range sensors picked up a new signature. Behind them, the Atlas and the entire Terran fleet emerged from folded space. Earth's blue light reflected off their hulls. The human planet itself had moved, relocated through slipspace, using the energy harvested from the arc line's cores. A planetary jump. Something no other civilization had ever achieved. On the Atlas's bridge, Admiral Cross gave a single order. "Open channel," her voice echoed across every enemy ship. You wanted a war, commanders of the Dominion. You came to burn our home. We moved it beyond your reach. But we still remember you. And now we come not as prey, but as witnesses. She paused. Witness what humanity becomes when cornered. The stars around the Dominion fleet began to change. Space folded, light twisted. Dozens, then hundreds of Terran ships emerged, larger, faster, sharper. The Atlas fired again. This time, it wasn't a warning shot. The battle that followed would later be called the day the void cried. Alien historians would write that no empire had ever fought so fiercely or lost so completely. When the dust cleared, the world burner was split in half, its artificial star bleeding across space. The Echo Reaver vanished into its own distortion field. The celestial thorn shattered under kinetic bombardment. The Swarm Mother's drones turned on each other as Athena hacked their code mid-battle. Only Ulrek survived. Barely, his ship drifting powerless among the ruins. He stared out at the debris, whispering to himself, underestimation breeds extinction. And I was right. Humanity didn't pursue him. The Atlas turned toward the galactic center, silent. Admiral, Harris said softly. It's over. No, Cross replied. It's beginning. Silence fell over the ruined sector. The Dominion's fleet, once an armada that could eclipse suns, now drifted like corpses in a frozen tide. The battle had ended. The galaxy, however, had only just begun to understand what it had witnessed. For weeks, the shockwaves of Sol's defense rippled through every corner of the known stars. Empires stopped their trading convoys to replay the same broadcast. 5 alien commanders, each a warlord of legend, driven into retreat by one human fleet. And somewhere in the endless dark, on the shattered bridge of the Swarm Mother, Ulrek stirred from unconsciousness. Half his face was burned and the air was thick with vaporized alloy. His ship was dead, its reactor cold, its drones scattered like ash across the void. Only a handful of crew still lived, trembling in silence. "Status!" Ulrek croaked. "Sir," one of his lieutenants stammered. "No systems responding." "Communications down! Power core breached!" Ulrek staggered forward, looking through the cracked viewport. Beyond it floated fragments of ships, his ships, blended with human wreckage. Even in victory, humanity had bled. He lowered himself onto a scorched console and whispered, almost to himself, "They were never meant to survive us. We were the 5. The officer didn't respond. "They warned us," Ulrek continued, eyes half-focused. "Before the campaign began, one of our scholars told the council not to strike at Sol, said there was something about them, something that didn't fit." He leaned back, laughing bitterly. "We called him a coward. Executed him for defeatism." The silence that followed was heavier than any explosion. Meanwhile, light years away, the Atlas cruised through the wreckage field. Admiral Cross stood at the forward deck, her reflection caught in the glass, one figure framed against the glow of broken worlds. Athena's voice filled the room. "Radiation levels stabilizing. Recovery drones have rescued 4 of 12 Dominion survivors." Cross didn't turn. "Any resistance?" "No. Most are in shock. Their command structures collapsed the moment their leaders fell." She finally exhaled. "Bring them aboard." "Medical first?" Lieutenant Harris turned in surprise. "Admiral? Dominion soldiers killed millions during the siege of Mars. You're bringing them here?" Cross's voice was quiet but firm. "Yes, Lieutenant. Because this isn't conquest, it's correction. We fight to survive, not to humiliate." The bridge fell silent. Even the younger officers, hardened by war, seemed taken aback by her tone. Athena continued softly. "Humanity remains statistically anomalous among galactic species in one respect: empathy during victory." Cross smiled faintly. "Maybe that's our curse, Athena." "Or our strength," the AI replied. Far across the stars, the Council of Sovereigns met in emergency session. The surviving commander, Serath, appeared via projection, her voice trembling. "You sent 5 fleets. You promised they would crush the Terrans before they even reached open space. And now I stand before you, the last of the 5. The others are dust." The chamber erupted into argument. Accusations, theories, desperation. One elder banged his staff. "Order! Order in the council!" A silence fell. "We cannot allow the humans to dictate the terms of fear. We must respond before their legend grows. A strategist stepped forward, scales glinting under the blue lights. With respect, Counselor, our fleets are in disarray. The Dominion has lost 3 major sectors. Production lines are down. We cannot outbuild them fast enough. Then we must outthink them, said Sarath. Her voice, cold and sharp, carried across the room. They rely on their AI and predictive warfare. We will feed them false data, scatter misinformation, divide their fleet, and strike at their heart when they least expect it. The council murmured approval. It was a plan born not of strength, but of desperation. On the Atlas, humanity was already preparing for the inevitable. Cross stood in the war chamber surrounded by admirals, generals, and representatives from every Terran colony. We know the Dominion won't rest, she said. They'll come back, harder, smarter, with something new. So we adapt first. Her hand waved over the table, revealing holographic schematics of new ships. Sleeker, more modular, more unpredictable. These designs are not meant to intimidate. They're meant to survive. Our next fleet will operate without central command, each ship capable of autonomous strategy, linked through quantum relay, but independent if severed. The crowd of officers nodded grimly. This war taught us something, Cross continued. Unity is powerful, but flexibility wins. In orbit around Titan, the massive shipyards burned day and night. Human engineers, men and women who'd once built skyscrapers and aircraft, now forged the next generation of warships. They called the new design the Aegis Line. Each vessel could deploy defensive screens that mimicked the Atlas shielding on a smaller scale. Some were piloted, others autonomous. Each one carried a piece of Athena's code, distributed intelligence, designed to grow, to learn. And at the heart of it all, hidden beneath the Arctic ice of the relocated Earth, something else was being built in secret. Project Horizon. No one outside the council knew what it was. Weeks turned into months. The Dominion regrouped, driven by vengeance. The humans rebuilt, driven by purpose. And somewhere between them, Ulrich, alone in his crippled ship, drifted through the black, clinging to life. He had made a choice. He rerouted the last of his power into a single distress beacon, encoded not to his people but to humanity. It was a plea, a warning. Back on the Atlas, Athena intercepted it first. Admiral. Incoming transmission, Dominion encryption. Source, former flagship Swarm Mother. Cross frowned. Alive? Barely. Message contains no weapon signatures. It's a direct voice file. Play it! The speakers crackled, and Ulrich's voice filled the room, weak, broken, sincere. To the human commander, if this message reaches you, know that I speak not as an enemy, but as one who has seen the truth. You must understand, the Dominion will not stop. They will come with something far worse than you have faced, a weapon they swore never to awaken. They call it the Sovereign Engine. It was buried beneath the galactic core, powered by an ancient singularity. Even we feared it, but they will unleash it now. You think you've won, human, but you've only stirred the old gods of war. If you value existence, destroy the engine before they reach it. The message ended. Silence filled the bridge. Cross closed her eyes. Plot course, she said. Destination, the galactic core. The alien fleet hung in orbit above the blue and white marble of Earth, its armadas spanning kilometers of cold metal and arrogance. Each ship was a symbol of centuries of conquest, forged by species that believed themselves unmatched in the art of war, and yet each commander hesitated. Admiral Zyron of the Valari Dominion stared at the holographic readout before her. The human defense grid was active. That was not supposed to be possible. Their intelligence reports claimed Earth's defenses were patchwork, obsolete relics of a civilization barely crawling toward the stars. But the data spoke otherwise. Energy readings spiked beyond known Valari thresholds. Planetary shields shimmered faintly, visible even through the clouds. She turned toward her fellow commanders on the secure galactic link. Something's wrong, Zyron said coldly. Their systems shouldn't be capable of such sustained power output. This isn't fusion. It's something else. General Tavar of the Kothan Empire snorted. Bah, human theatrics. They've always been good at pretending to be dangerous. Let me show them what real firepower looks like, he gestured. and his fleet moved forward, 3 dreadnoughts of blackened metal, each bristling with plasma batteries. The moment they crossed the invisible threshold above Earth, a whisper rippled through the stars. The Terran grid came alive. Thousands of orbital platforms, long thought to be civilian communication stations, suddenly reoriented. Shields flared, and the void between worlds became a lattice of shimmering energy. The Kothan dreadnought's sensors screamed warnings of gravitational distortions. Then came the voice. It wasn't human. Not exactly. It was synthetic, calm, and absolute. Unidentified vessels. You are trespassing in Terran-controlled orbit. Leave immediately or face planetary retaliation. This is your first and only warning. Silence filled the comm channels. Yiren's crimson eyes flicked to the others. That voice! It's not automated. That's an AI. Self-aware, unrestricted. That's impossible under galactic law, Commander Drath of the Sayrix Collective hissed. Impossible or not, it knows we're here. Tavar only laughed. Let it talk. Let it threaten. I'll vaporize it, he fired. 3 dreadnought plasma lances shot toward Earth, each capable of splitting a moon in half. The energy arcs tore through the void, then vanished. The beams bent. They twisted in mid-space, drawn away as though swallowed by a hungry shadow. Then, a ripple of light flashed from Earth's upper atmosphere. Something massive was moving. From the clouds rose a shape unlike any the aliens had seen. It was not sleek or elegant like their ships. It was brutal, angular, built for war, not beauty. A black spear of armor kilometers long, lined with spires and magnetic rings that pulsed with faint blue light. The human warship Aegis of Sol had awakened. The moment the Aegis of Sol rose through the atmosphere, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. The warship was a relic of a forgotten age, a time when humanity prepared for extinction, not victory. Its hull was forged from compressed singularity alloys, its engines pulsing with anti-gravity fields that bent the stars themselves. Admiral Zyron's voice trembled for the first time in her career. By the void, that thing shouldn't exist. That's human-made? Yes, whispered Drath, his voice a mix of awe and dread. And it's not alone. Across the surface of the moon, other signals began to stir. Hidden hangars long assumed to be abandoned erupted with light. Massive structures rose, shedding lunar dust like awakening titans, the Titan-class carriers. The dread engines of Sol one by one, their names appeared on sensors. Vigilant Dawn, Iron Resolve, Spirit of Terra, Guardian's Oath, each one older than the Galactic Empire itself. Each one built for a war humanity never fought until now. The alien fleets reoriented immediately, panicked but proud. Commander Tivar barked orders to his fleet. Form up! Concentrated fire on that primary vessel! I'll show these primitives what a real navy can do! The Kothan dreadnought surged forward, a storm of plasma and antimatter torpedoes filling the void. The space between stars turned to fire, but when the inferno cleared, Aegis of Sol remained. Its shields didn't flicker. Instead, its hull glowed faintly, absorbing, converting, learning. Inside the human flagship, Admiral Marcus Vale stood at the command dais. His face was weathered, his eyes calm as he spoke to the bridge crew. Don't return fire yet. Let them understand what they've started. The AI, designation Sovereign, responded in a voice both human and divine. Understood, Admiral. Shall I transmit their coordinates to command? Not yet. Let them come closer. In the alien fleet, confusion turned to fear. Their sensors couldn't map the human vessel's structure. It seemed to exist in multiple energy states simultaneously. One moment it registered as solid mass, the next a void echo, as if space itself refused to define it. Then, in a single command, humanity answered. Engage defense pattern Omega. The Aegis's hull split open, revealing rings of glowing mass drivers, each the size of a skyscraper. A pulse of white light erupted, and the first human volley struck. The Kothan dreadnought Varax's honor disintegrated instantly. No explosion, just silence. Its atoms scattered across space as if erased from existence. The other ships faltered, shields flickering, systems failing under radiation no shield could block. "Impossible!" Sirens shouted. "That's not a weapon, that's reality collapse tech." Drath hissed through static. "They're using dimensional energy, that's forbidden even to the ancient ones." But the humans were not finished. From the moon rose hundreds of smaller ships, the Centauri-class destroyers, unmanned, each controlled by fragments of Sovereign. They moved like a living swarm, perfectly synchronized, cutting through enemy formations with terrifying precision. Every alien commander saw it, and everyone felt it. Humanity was fighting with something far more frightening than machines. They were fighting with purpose. "Commander," one of Zyron's lieutenants stammered, "they're not retreating, they're hurting us." And she realized it. The humans weren't destroying them, they were teaching them. Every strike was measured, every kill surgical. This wasn't slaughter, it was demonstration. Admiral Vale's voice filled the bridge, calm as stone. They came here thinking they could measure humanity by their standards. They forgot one truth. He turned toward the viewing deck as the Earth rose behind him, shining, defiant. "Humans don't fight for conquest. We fight when we have no choice. And when we do," he nodded, "we fight to end wars." At his signal, the Aegis unleashed its full power. The superstructure split into 3 rotational segments, each drawing from the planet's magnetic field. Space itself warped, forming a halo of white energy. The beam that followed wasn't light. It was the absence of it. A stream of condensed void energy ripping through the enemy fleet in perfect silence. One by one, ships vanished, consumed not by explosion but by erasure. When the light faded, only the wreckage of pride remained. The 5 alien commanders, Zirin, Tavar, Drath, Solrek, and Heshar, drifted in their crippled flagships. Their fleets reduced to ghosts. Humanity had not only survived, it had rewritten the laws of war. As the surviving ships limped back toward the edge of Sol, a final message reached them. One not spoken in threat, but in warning. "You came to test our strength. You found our restraint. Leave now and remember this moment. Humanity seeks peace, but we were forged in fire. Do not make us prove it again." And then the transmission ended. Silence returned to the stars. The battlefield, once filled with fire and arrogance, now floated in eerie stillness. The humans did not chase. They did not taunt. They simply watched, calm, unwavering, eternal. And for the first time in galactic history, the alien empires understood. The humans had not built ships of war. They had built warnings. The war was over before most of the galaxy even knew it had begun. When the battered remnants of the 5 fleets limped home, their commanders carried not trophies, but silence. No celebration followed them, no songs of victory, only the echo of what they had seen. Human warships moving like ghosts through the dark. On the broadcast channels of the Empire, footage leaked. A single human dreadnought drifting before Earth, a dark silhouette framed by the sun. It became the most watched image in galactic history. At first, the media called it impossible, then unreal. But the survivors' testimonies left no doubt. "They didn't fight like us," whispered Commander Tavar before the Senate. "They fought like they'd already lost something once, something they'd sworn never to lose again." In the months that followed, the balance of power shattered. Worlds once boasting of strength began dismantling their war programs. The Coalition of Dominion, the most powerful military bloc in the galaxy, issued a single order. Do not engage the species designated human under any circumstance. Trade emissaries replaced soldiers. Historians replaced generals. For the first time in eons, the galaxy sought to understand rather than dominate. But far from the outer colonies, deep in the quiet orbit of Mars, Admiral Marcus Vale stood alone on the deck of the Aegis of Sol. The warship floated silently, its armor scorched, its reactors humming softly like a heartbeat at rest. Sovereign's voice filled the chamber, low and almost gentle. "Threat index across all known species has dropped by 73%. The empires are retreating from expansion zones. Humanity has achieved deterrence. Vale exhaled, eyes lingering on the blue marble of Earth below. Deterrence, he repeated. A polite word for fear. The AI hesitated before answering. It is better they fear than destroy. Down on Earth, the world had changed too. Cities once fractured by politics now shared a single unity. We are not alone and we are enough. Statues of the fallen stood beside fields of green, the names of the 20 million who died in the first alien strike carved into black stone. The memorial stretched for miles, every name lit by a soft blue glow. At the dedication ceremony, Vale spoke only once. They came believing we were weak, he said to the crowd. They saw our cities, our art, our compassion, and mistook them for fragility. But our kindness is not weakness. It's a choice we make after learning how cruel the universe can be. Across the stars, alien leaders watched the broadcast. In her chamber aboard the Kothan capital world, Admiral Zyron sat alone, her silver scales dulled. She replayed the footage over and over. The moment the human ship appeared, the way it moved, the way it stopped when victory was certain. That restraint haunted her more than the weapon itself. Her adjutant entered quietly. Admiral, the Council requests your statement. They wish to know how humans fight. Zyron stared into the void beyond her window and finally replied. They fight like a mirror. They show you what you truly are. And if you come with hate? She turned her eyes downward. They make you feel it. Time passed. Years turned to decades. Human warships still patrolled Sol, but their weapons grew quieter. Instead of expanding outward, humanity turned inward, rebuilding, healing, remembering, and yet the galaxy never forgot. The phrase, "do not attack the humans," became not just a warning, but a proverb whispered to children, carved into the halls of command academies, written on banners above alien capital ships. Because in the end, the lesson was simple. Power doesn't come from technology. It comes from why you fight. On the 100th anniversary of the battle, the stars over Earth glimmered with thousands of friendly lights. Dozens of alien ships arrived in peace. No weapons, no fleets, just delegations seeking the truth. A young alien envoy stood before the human memorial, placing his clawed hand on the glass names. Were they heroes? He asked softly. A human officer beside him smiled faintly. They were people. Heroes are just people who refuse to give up. The alien looked skyward, where the aegis of Sol still drifted silently. No longer a weapon, but a monument. He whispered almost reverently, then the galaxy is lucky they existed. Above them, in the shadow of the ancient warship, a final transmission echoed from Sovereign's dormant core. A message recorded long ago, never meant to be played, but still waiting. If you hear this, know that humanity never wanted to be feared. We only wanted to be left in peace. But if peace must be earned through fire, then so be it. We will burn only once, and never again. The transmission ended. Silence followed, and across the Milky Way, that silence spoke louder than any weapon ever could. Because the galaxy had finally learned, you do not measure humanity by the size of its fleets, but by the depth of its heart.